Too fast, too furious.
Oh, how times have changed. This Mini Cooper feels like it's straight out of the early 2000s of the Fast and Furious and Need for Speed Underground era. With its laughable Lamborghini doors, it does have the silly look of the early 2000s, but at least it sounds like a baby Terminator Cobra. So is this car just a nostalgia trip down memory lane, or is it just another Mini Cooper? Let's go for a drive and find out. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are in one obnoxious car. Today we are in a 2003 John Cooper Works Mini Cooper. So what does that mean? Well, John Cooper Works, essentially you took a Mini Cooper, you sent it to the dealership, and you paid $5 grand, and bam, you had a John Cooper Works Mini. They essentially did a whole bunch of modifications, some bolt-ons, upgraded supercharger, stuff like that, but $5,000, and it's the only aftermarket part really at the time that was warranted. So that's where the $5 grand really kicked in. Was if you saw the parts list, you're like, $5 grand really? But then you realize that it's warranted, you're like, okay, I understand. However, you might notice this one's a little different than just the generic red flag one that you see all the time. This one is wide body, and it feels like it came right out of 2003. So I just want to tell a little funny story about this thing. So when the owner found this car, he bought it from somebody who could like barely speak English. So they buy the car, they goes, what's done to it? They're like, everything done. And then after that, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, it has nitrous kit on it. But for some reason, they can't find it. Somewhere buried into this motor setup or somewhere in this car, supposedly there's a nitrous kit. I don't know, they don't know. Maybe one day there's a magical button we'll find and we'll hit it and we'll redo this review and see what happens. It's always a little tricky buying somebody else's project car. Just always know that. If you're young and you're watching this, I highly recommend just buy a stock car or a near stock car, then do everything you want to do to it, because sometimes you just don't know. Okay, so this was a show car, obviously, but it won several shows. When you pop the hood of this thing, it has eyes for some reason. It just looks like a cartoon character. You might not know, with Mini Coopers, the headlights are integrated into the hood. So when you pop the hood and lift the hood up, the headlights go with it. This also has a lower pulley and makes just over 200 horsepower to the wheels. So, what's it like driving a supercharged one? Because I have actually driven the turbocharged ones. And my friends in Virginia Beach, where I used to live, had 2 of these. And we worked on them every now and then, but they were just an absolute blast to drive. Another thing though about the John Cooper Works is that the screen in the middle was not a screen in the middle. It was basically a giant dial that had speedometer and tachometer on it. And it just, when you go and look at the interior of a Mini Cooper, their theme is just spheres and circles. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, everything's a circle in this car. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. We also have Lamborghini doors. Now, why does this thing have Lamborghini doors? Well, think about it. It's from 2003. It has a wide body on it. The Lamborghini doors were very much of the era of 2003. That was a hip, cool thing to do. While Too Fast, Too Furious was coming out that year, you were the bee's knees if you had Lamborghini doors on anything. Sure, did you get called a ricer? Yeah, but you liked it. Who cares? Mini Coopers is that they are literal go-karts for the street. Sure, the original one, the small one, that's definitely like what people think of as the original go-kart for the street because they weighed absolutely nothing. A handful of people can pick it up and move it if they wanted to. They got bigger and bloated over time because one, they got joined by the BMW group, or BMW group basically took Mini in. And that's why when you look at Mini Coopers, a lot of the parts are from BMW. Over time, safety standards exist, right? You have to have bigger A pillars and B pillars and airbags and all that good stuff. But I would say that this was kind of the sweet spot for Mini, I think, was this era, because they still weren't too big. But eventually when the Countryman came out and all those, I just like these a lot more. Just the original Mini Coopers are my favorite. We also have a shift light right here that's right in my face, so. It's so weird because it has like that very signature 4-cylinder sound you get out the back, right? Just kind of raspy, 4-banger, low displacement. But up front, it's almost like an American muscle car. It makes no sense. And it can get, okay, wow, that's raspy. It still has the Mini Cooper feeling to it. Even though these cars are front wheel drive, they're so light, you don't even notice the downsides of front wheel drive, really. Can it do it? Yes, it can. The power is so weird. Oh yeah, we also have basically an almost all glass roof, giant sunroof in this thing. But the motor, the way the power comes on, it's like an all motor 4-cylinder really. It just has that additional supercharger whine added onto it. You still get that instantaneous hit you want, but with the turbo ones, you had kind of a spool and then it would kind of fall on its face. So are the turbo ones faster than these? Yes, but these have a little bit more character, if not a lot more character in my opinion. Even inside without the windows down. Shifter is dumb notchy, like insanely notchy, to the point where, since I'm not used to driving this, the clutch is a little tricky. At the same time, it's not too difficult to drive for me because I've driven so much stuff, but I could definitely see somebody getting in this, installing it a lot, because it's just one of those cars that to feel it out, it doesn't feel like a stock clutch in any kind of way. The shifter, you have this 1-2 thunk, right? You go cuh, cuh, and you need to make sure you're in gear. I can totally see somebody else also not getting into gear quite soon enough as well and missing, which I wouldn't really fault those people too much. That's with the windows up. This thing is loud. Fun car to see drive around because it just screams like every car era ever, if you think about it, right? You have the heritage of the 60s and the Morris Mini. Then you have the really intense modification era of the early 2000s. You have the supercharger whine from muscle cars, and then you have a really pretty color on top of it with John Cooper Works legacy. So yeah, all in all, I think it's one of those cars I can't really put my finger on. I am enjoying driving this more than the turbo one, even though it's faster. There are buttons right here behind the steering wheel, and I think they're cruise control, but I quite don't know what they are. I was like, wait, did they try to do some kind of paddle setup? And I was like, wait, I'm driving a manual, that doesn't make any sense. Mini Cooper people, you'll tell us. I know you will. Even the steering wheel, you know what the steering wheel reminds me of? You're gonna say what? A Crown Victoria. Because if you look at a Crown Victoria, it has basically this same shape. It has this weird kind of wave up top and then here, and it's a 2-spoke, right? It's all the way across. But then this is more chunky. This is just a chunkier version. But you don't have to Lego hands the wheel, right? You're not like not slipping off because it's too big of a wheel. It's perfect. But I also got my boost gauge over here telling me how it's going, and the car makes 20 pounds of boost using this pulley setup. That's a nice pop. God, this car, like anything you throw at it, any corner, any whatever, it just does it. So in combination with this very notchy shifter, we are dealing with a stage 2 clutch, so it catches at the very, very, very top. So if you notice, clutch, 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 there it is at the very top. Then you add some throttle, and then we're good. Like I go into the shifter, it's like, like that's all second gear. Mountain car. This is what, oh my God, I get it now. I get why people are obsessed with Mini Coopers now. This is sick. What do you think about this wide body, John Cooper Works, show car, Lambo door, blue Mini Cooper? That's a mouthful. Do you think it's neat that it's kind of a time capsule in a way? Or are you just kind of over it? And I will see you guys next time. Take it easy. Goodbye. This video is brought to you by Patterson Car Care. Get double of premium original detail product for half the price. Head over to PattersonCarCare.com or go to the link in the description below.